How to take over mortgages subject to step by step. Guys, it's Rick in with Flip with Rick. And do me a favor, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button if you want to continue to receive the best free wholesaling information on the internet today. So let's get into it. We're talking about doing subject to step by step. And what I want to do is just hold your hand and walk you through it. Yes, you are a wholesaler, but you can do subject to deals. Subject to is simply the process of taking over someone's existing mortgage, taking their place on it, and continuing the exact obligations that they signed up when they bought the property. So let's walk through it. So you guys already know my philosophy on this. You have to make sure that your seller is motivated. If the seller is not motivated to do this deal, it will never work. You cannot make somebody do a creative financing deal. Either it works and they're super excited about it, or they don't want to do it. Don't be the person caught in between. It doesn't work. It has to be a huge win-win for both parties. So make sure the motivation's there. Otherwise, this is going to be an uphill battle and it'll probably wind up being like a really bad deal. So motivation's number one. The second thing you want to do to qualify if it's going to be a good subject deal is you got to gather the mortgage information. It's actually a really simple process. Most sellers that are open to doing a subject to, they have to do it because either they're going to have to pay out of their pocket or they're behind on payments. So in order for you to find out if it's a good deal, you need to collect the information. What do you need to collect? The easiest way to start off with this is just get a mortgage statement. Most sellers have it handy. If not, they can pull it out of a file. They usually get a statement like every 30 days. I know a lot of them are going paperless these days, but if they have a statement, it will have a loan number. Very important to get the loan number. It'll have the payment amount. I'm going to go over that in detail here shortly. And it's going to have balance left over on the mortgage, and it'll tell you which bank is taking care of the mortgage and if they're behind on any payments. So gathering that information is extremely important. Now, what you can do is, you can't photocopy it usually at the house, is what I like to do is just take your camera here and just take pictures. Ask for permission before you take it. A lot of them have sensitive information. Usually they only have like the last 4 digits of their social security, but you're going to need all this information. When it comes to the payment part, this is absolutely critical, guys. There's an acronym used in the mortgage world and in the invest world. It's called PITI. Let me repeat that again. PITI. The P stands for principal. The I stands for interest. The T stands for taxes. And the I stands for insurance. Now, if somebody's getting they're a first-time home buyer and they're putting down a very small down payment, usually less than 5%, the PITI, the bank is going to require that to be paid every month. So what that means is they take the estimated taxes for the year, they take the insurance bill, and they blend it into the principal and interest. So principal and interest is already set up on an amortization schedule for anybody who gets a mortgage. That's on every one of them. What you need to establish is the tax and insurance included in their monthly mortgage payment. This makes a huge difference. I've seen a lot of times when they put down larger down payments, sometimes as little as 10%, but when they put down 20, 30%, or they're into the loan for long term, it's not a requirement to prepay the taxes and insurance. So what they do is that if the tax bill is $1,200 for the year, they charge you $100 a month and put it into your principal and interest payment. If the insurance bill is $1,200 for a year, they collect $100 a month. So that would add $200 to the mortgage payment. It's critical you know this. If you factor in and you forgot about that, you can quickly be in a bad subject to deal. So PITI, principal, interest, tax, and insurance. Guys, you got to understand that. Please make sure when you get the mortgage, you identify all that information. The next part of gathering the information is finding out when they took this mortgage. It's important you know, keep in mind, sellers do refinance property. So if they took out a mortgage in 2010, they refinanced 2015, you want to know when the origination of that mortgage date is. Here's why, guys. The beauty in subject to is every time you make a payment, the principal goes down. Now, in the first 10 years, actually 7, the way an amortization schedule works is a predominant amount of the money goes to interest. Once you get past 10 years, it starts shifting more and more to principal and gets heavy. So if you have a 30-year mortgage, by the time it gets to year 13, 14, and 15, a good portion, 60 to 70% of that monthly payment is going to pay down the principal. What does that mean? It means you have more equity each and every month. If you find a mortgage, say it's a 30-year mortgage and they're already 20 years into it, it's literally a gold mine. It's because if you're making an $800 payment and $650 is going to principal, it's an amazing deal. And it pays down very, very fast towards the end. Now, also keep in mind, there are mortgages as low as 15 and 20 years out there. I've even seen a 10-year mortgage. So find out when they took out the mortgage, calculate today's date, and it's simple as that. What I want you to do is, here's a little tip that I use, and it's amazing. And I didn't really find this out till a couple of years ago. So I'm going to go ahead and share it with you. If you guys use PropStream, you can get a free version on it. Go to listrei.com for 7 days. When you pull up your lead's address, right there in the upper right-hand window, it will tell you exactly when the mortgage was taken out. It'll tell you the servicing bank, how many years the mortgage for, and the estimated monthly payment. And it'll also tell you the type of mortgage it is. Now, the only subject to's stay out of is an FHA within the first 2 years, because there is a requirement that the borrower has to reside in the property for at least the first 2 years. If they just bought the house 3 months ago and it's an FHA, I'm going to tell you to stay clear of it, because you're technically not supposed to take over those mortgages. Do people do it? Yes, but I don't want to do something that goes against what the government wants me to do. So guys, use that little trick on listrei.com. In the right-hand corner, it's going to give you a cheat sheet on how old the mortgage is, the estimated balance, the estimated amount of equity in it. Now, it's not going to tell you the exact PITI, and it's not going to tell you if the T, which is the taxes and the insurance, is included, which is key. That can throw your numbers off anywhere from $200 to $700 a month. So now we move on to step number 3 is, after you've gathered the mortgage information, you need to verify what the going rental rate for that property in your neighborhood is. Now, the easiest and the best way, in my opinion, is to drive around the neighborhood. If you see a for rent sign, anything like that, that is going to be the best data for you, because that's an active landlord trying to get a rent, and they'll tell you what they're asking for. They're usually pretty dead on with it. And I would work backwards from there. After that, you can use Craigslist, you Rentometer, obviously Zillow and Trulia. I like Trulia a lot. I believe Zillow gives you an estimate, and you want to come up with what the going rate is. Now, we have the mortgage information. You've got the going rental rates. Make sure you do your homework. Don't make one phone call. Try to make 9 or 10 so you get an accurate number. And make sure your rentals information matches up. If you have a 322, make sure you're getting a rate on a 322. If you're pricing out a 2.2 versus a 3.2 or 4.2, obviously you should get more or less of a premium based on the square footage and the amount of rooms. The next thing we want to do, step number 4, we're going to do math. It's just like going back to school. Although this is really simple math, here's my theory on doing math for wholesalers. If you have to pull out a calculator, you're paying too much for the property. You should be able to do the math really quickly in your head. So let me give you an example. If your motivated sellers subject to deal, say the payment is $800 a month, and let's say it's PITI, which is to your advantage, which means all the costs are included into it. If the tax insurance not included, you need to factor this in your number. How do you do that? You can call local insurance companies, get an estimate, go to your local taxing authority. Usually it's tied into your property appraiser site, and you can find out what the tax rate is on that property. So if it's $800 a month and the rental rate, say, is $1,500, guys, I don't need a calculator. It works. Like it's that simple. Here's where I see the challenge when people say the PITI is $1,200 a month and the rental rates in the area are like $1,300. In my opinion, that's really tight. Doesn't mean you can't make it work. But remember, if you have 1 month vacancy, you have to make that mortgage payment and you would be upside down. So heed the warning. I like to have a $300 buffer minimum, and I'm not overly excited with that. But because remember, guys, all these properties, they're going to have repairs. You will have turnover in them. If you're going to turn them into true rental rates, we'll get rentals. We'll get into that. But you want to have a buffer. Because remember, the cash flow adds up over time. If you're doing it for the next 10 years, I mean, that's 120 payments. It adds up, but you've got to leave room for repairs, all sorts of funky stuff. I want to make sure you're actually making monies on these deals. So if you have to sit here and do a calculator and try to calculate an ROI on that, you're paying too much for the property, in my opinion. So remember, creative financing deals, especially subject twos, in my opinion, either they work or they don't. So now we've done the math problem. The next step is, I've already talked about it, set and define what your healthy margin is. If you're going to set it at 200 or 300, just make sure you're factoring in the tax and the insurance into that number. It doesn't matter if you pass it off to your end buyer number. You want to make sure you are covered. Remember, if you make more money, the idea is when the rental rates go up and as you're paying it down, this math problem gets better and better and better. So make sure you have a healthy margin. Make sure you set in writing what your minimum acceptable margin rate is. If it's $200, stick to it. Because if it gets down to $50, you go, well, I'm going to bend this time. That's how investors get in trouble. So leave room for it. That would cover if you had a vacancy for a month or if you had to spend a little bit more on repairs than you planned on. There's lots of other factors that go into it. Which leads me to my next one is, step 6 is you have to factor in repairs needed for the property. You also have to factor any type of downtime. The greater the repairs on the property, meaning if it's in disarray, the more downtime. What do I mean by downtime? If it takes 30 days to fix the property up, you're probably going to have to make at least one, if not two, of the monthly subject to payments. So you have to leave room in it. My favorite subject to deals are ones that need little to absolutely no repair, because I can churn the property faster, I can ask a higher premium, and I don't have to get in the rehab business. When these properties are run down and they're worn out, you really need to look at your options on it, because even if you have high cash flow, if the property needs 10 or 20 grand worth of repair, someone's going to have to write a big check to get that done. And remember, most likely if you do that, you're going to sell it to a creative financing deal as seller financing. And I promise you, not many of your sellers, you don't want your sellers doing a $20,000 rehab on your subject to. That's an absolute no. So usually you have to hire someone, get it done, and you want to cover the cost on that on your tenant buyer. Well, remember, you need to make a healthy fee on that, wholesale fee built in there. So if it needed $20,000 in repair and you're trying to make a $10,000 or $15,000, that means you have to ask for $30,000 to $35,000 up front, and the market might not bear it. So I always look for houses that need little to no repairs. It doesn't mean I won't do the deal. It just makes the deal more challenging. So say the house just needs one room painted and someone's got to fix like the patio door. Perfect. $500, I get that done. That's perfect. The next step, which is basically going to be step 7, is you need to pick your exit strategy on this property. Now, you have options. Usually your subject to deal is going to dictate your exit strategy, but if you want to do straight up rentals on it, on a subject to, you absolutely have the ability to do that. Just hopefully it doesn't need too many repairs and you can do that. If that's your mission, do that. Here's the beauty of real estate investing. You get to choose which strategy you want to do. The benefit of doing a rental is you can enjoy the appreciation as it goes up. The downside is you have to deal with the tenant and the management piece. Either you manage it yourself or you hire a property management company, which is usually around 10% to manage the rental. The other option, which I like to do, and a lot of people like to do, is sell it to an end buyer on a subject to. I'm not going to get into the mechanics of how to do the paperwork because it depends on what state you're in. But basically, you're letting them make the monthly payments. You're usually charging a premium. So if it's whatever the number is, you're adding usually more money to it. You're writing them an amortization schedule. And say you had to put $1,000 into the property, you're going to make sure you get a healthy down payment. Now, your local market will determine what the down payment is. So a lot of times it's anywhere from 5 as high as like 15%. It all depends on your market. If you're in a really hot real estate market, you can obviously ask for more. If the market turns soft, you have to be flexible. What I want you to do is, if you decided to give your motivated seller $3,000 up front, which would be a great deal for a house that needed any work, then you just add whatever fee you want to get on it. It's that simple. A lot of those, I'd ask for anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000. And that means minus repairs and maybe a payment, I'm going to walk away with $16,000, $17,000 up front. And then whatever the sales price on the house is, you're able to add anywhere from a 5 to 15% premium because the house doesn't have to be appraised. You don't have to wait for bank underwriting on it. And it's truly a win-win situation. So here's the beauty. When you sell to an end buyer, you can make it a short-term deal. You can make it a long-term deal. It's all up to you. Do you want to ride it out and take that monthly cash flow and give them like a big mortgage? That's great. If they're just trying to fix their credit and they want to cash you out and you want to get it done in 3 years, then go ahead and do that. There's no wrong way to do them. I do them every which way. I basically let my seller tell me which way I can go with the deal. I never try to force it in. So you get your upfront payment, which is just like getting an assignment fee. So I like to do at least 15 grand. That's what I want to collect net when I do the deal. So whatever you negotiate with your motivated seller on a subject to deal, I like to collect a lot more from my end buyer to make sure I'm making a profit up front. We didn't get in this business to break even, nor do I want you. Then what you're going to do is you're going to make cash flow every month. They're obviously going to pay you more for the property. And so you might make a couple $100 a month. But remember, with a tenant buyer, they're responsible for all the repairs, absolutely everything with the property. There's no headache. There's no management. And then if they're going to cash you out in 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, that's when you get that final bump payment. A lot of times it's another $25,000 to $50,000. If you need that money earlier, then make sure you set that for a short-term deal if you're not in a rush to get the money and you want to make some more cash flow. So remember, you have 3 areas to make money on a subject to: the upfront payment, the monthly cash flow, and the exit price. The beauty is, it's up to you how you want to do the deal. This isn't as complicated as you think it is. I'm going to give you the legal disclaimer here. But before you do a subject to and you actually close on it, you need to consult a local real estate attorney on how to take title. Remember, there's 50 different states. Each one does a little bit different. I don't know everyone's personal situation. It would be impossible to diagnose everyone and tell them how to do it. Everybody has a different personal situation, different financial situation. My advice to you is find a local real estate professional, particularly a lawyer, to advise you on how to take title on these deals. So go out, do subject twos. They're not that complicated. Replay this video step by step on how to do it. It's really that simple. Gather the information, do the math problem, establish what any repairs are needed on the property, and then you decide what your exit plan is. You're going to rent it out. You're going to turn it into a financing deal. The world is your canvas. Paint it the way you want it. Have fun with these deals. So I see so many wholesalers like, I don't know how to do creative financing. Well, you do now. So tune in. We'll share more details on how to take these deals down. In your marketing, you're going to come across these deals. Guys, creative financing, it's there. Do me a favor. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you want to hear more videos just like this on great killer wholesale content for free without being pounded on a course, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Share it with your friends. Guys, we are building a community here that you can actually learn how to wholesale without paying a giant guru fee. So guys, I'll see you in the next video. This is Rick with Flip with Rick, and I appreciate it.